welcome to TRITALKS. I'm here with Alissa Magrum today. I met Alissa at the Xterra Austin last weekend, and she did awesome. She won.
So did you, by the way.
Thank you. No, but like overall, women, I was impressed to see your times. I was like, wow, she's like all over the place, but she'll tell us a little bit more about herself, and she has a lot of experience, so I'm very excited about her sharing with us today. So Lisa, could you talk a little bit more about yourself, so everyone
Sure.
can get a feel of what you do and who you are?
Sure, absolutely. So my name's Alissa, and I am a triathlete. I found my home with Xterra, which is off-road, but in my other, outside of that world, I'm a mom. So I have an almost 16-year-old. My daughter turned 16 on May 8th, so that's interesting. I am also the executive director of a nonprofit organization, which is a water safety and drowning prevention organization called Collins Hope. And I'm in Austin, Texas. So we're based in Austin, but we work locally, statewide. And then I'm also very involved with water safety at the national level, which is really exciting right now because many other countries have what's called a national water safety action plan. So they have a plan to prevent drowning that covers the whole country. The United States does not have that yet, but we are working on it. And so I'm lucky enough to get to be I'm honored to be part of that process at the national level. So the water safety and drowning prevention is my work, but I also infuse that into my triathlete, being a triathlete. I kind of use that as a platform to talk to fellow athletes about water safety and drowning prevention, because in a triathlon, you have to swim, and none of us are drown proof. So so that's kind of a little bit about me. I'm in Texas now. I've been here for over 20 years. I grew up outside of Washington, D.C.
And now that you were mentioning about this not being in the US, I was thinking back, and in the Netherlands, they do have this, like when you're growing up, you have to get a license or some kind of permit that you have to take swimming courses because of the canals everywhere in the Netherlands. So yeah. I'm thinking about it and like, oh, it's true.
Yeah, I went to the World Conference on Drowning Prevention a couple of years ago. It was in Vancouver, British Columbia, and we got to hear from all these other countries, Australia and the UK and New Zealand and all places around the world that have these national action plans. And again, the US is a tough country because we're so big and there's a lot going on, but it's something that's so needed and it's happening, and it's incredibly awesome to get to be part of it, to get to sit at that table and be part of it. So I'm very honored to help the US get that going, because drowning is a global epidemic, but in the US, drowning is the #1 cause of unintentional death for children under 5, a leading cause for ages 1 to 14, and then it continues. The risk actually gets higher as people get older, and so it's definitely something that we need to do some work around. So,
and now because we're in this topic,
yeah.
How was it that you started to work for this nonprofit?
Sure. So my organization is called Collins Hope, and I'll have a little prop here. So Colin was a 4-year-old local Austin child who drowned in a lifeguarded pool. And if this is Colin, and my daughter went to preschool with Colin, and Colin drowned in June of 2008. And at the time, I worked for another nonprofit called Communities in Schools. So I did dropout prevention, helping kids stay in school. But because of that work, I worked with a lot of counselors and social workers. So when Colin drowned, the owner of the preschool called me and said, "Hey, Alissa, we had a student drown yesterday. The teachers are a mess and need some counselors. Can you send some counselors over? Can you help us?" So I did. I sent some of my friends who are counselors and social workers over to debrief the teachers. But then for me as a parent, my daughter was 3 at the time. And it was a parental wake-up call. I thought I knew everything about child safety. I had the bike helmet, and she never touched any bike or anything without a helmet on, car seats and all the things. Talk to your kids about not touching a hot stove and putting the plugs in the electrical sockets, all that stuff. But I hadn't really thought about water safety or drowning prevention is something I need to think about. I mean, we live by the lake, so we're around water all the time. I taught her how to swim before she was 2, so she could swim across the pool. So, but I didn't think about it as something I needed to think about until it got really, really close, like in our preschool. So I got involved as a volunteer. Colin drowned in June and 2008, and his family started the organization 3 months later. And one of the very first things that they did was put on a kids triathlon as a fundraiser. So I was like, that's my thing. So I was the run course manager at the beginning and got involved in that. And then I had hip surgery in April of 2010. I had a hip surgery, and as a triathlete, when you have hip surgery and you're told you can't run or bike, then swimming became something that I suddenly needed to do more of. And I didn't grow up a swimmer, and I was probably in the beginning of my triathlon days one of those people that's very much like, I want to get through the swim to get onto the bike. But I am very goal driven, and I don't sit still for very long. So I was literally sitting on the couch. I just gotten home from my hip surgery, and I called Colin's dad, whose name is Jeff, and I said, Jeff, I would love to swim 4 miles from the 360 bridge, which is this big, beautiful bridge on Lake Austin, and swim 4 miles from the bridge to the Hula Hut, which is a restaurant and I'm going to raise $20,000 for Colin's Hope. Is that okay? And he was like, okay. So I said I was going to do it, and I had never swam more than 1.2 miles. I had done a half Ironman at this point, so I had swam that far, but not 4 miles. So suddenly people started wanted to do it with me. So my physical therapist wanted to do it. There was another triathlete here named Carrie Barrett who had the same hip surgery like a couple weeks before me. And so she wanted to do it. So suddenly there were 19 of us who were going to swim 4 miles and raise money for Colin's Hope. And so we did that. And after we did that, soon after that, the organization decided that they wanted to hire an executive director. And, I had just gotten my master's in organizational leadership and ethics, and they asked me to do it. And so I left my very stable job of 10 years with great benefits to help start this organization, and said, I'll do this for 5 years. I'll set them on their way. Then I'll go do something else. And this past December, I celebrated my 10-year anniversary as the executive director of Colin's Hope. So once I got into it and started working with all of these families, it's just something that I'm incredibly passionate about. And I love that I can merge my passion with my sports and my things, because it's applicable.
Exactly. I mean, I love it because you're so passionate about it. You just talk about it like with such conviction of like, I truly believe in this organization. Mm-hmm. And I mean, maybe you have this in nonprofit organizations, right? Because you do need people to believe in what they're preaching, right?
But you're selling something, actually. I mean, you're raising the money. We're a very small organization. There are 2 of us, and we are doing incredible things at the local, state, and national level. But there are only 2 of us, and we raise all of that money. Every single penny that we spend on doing this work, we raise it. And you have to be, I feel like I'm a great salesperson because I'm selling, saving lives. And I will talk to anybody who will stop long enough or not to talk about it, because
and maybe some people that are listening to us today might be wondering, what do you teach? I mean, how do you prevent drowning? Or
sure.
What would be
so we could have a whole nother topic about that, but the easy answer is it's education of parents and caregivers and children, how to have safer behaviors around water. So that means, like, for kids, we teach them, we call them the whole hand rules. We teach them rules they understand rules, they understand a hand. So we came up with 5 rules. We actually added a 6th one, but like the first rule is wait for a grown-up. So before you go to water, you wait for a grown-up. Grown-ups should be watching you when you're around water. It's important to learn how to swim. It's important to wear life jackets. It's important to stay away from drains. And the one we added was open water safety, because we see kids drowning in beaches and ponds and lakes and rivers. And so we teach kids how to be safer around water. And then we teach adults, parents, caregivers, nannies, grandparents, babysitters, anyone who's supervising kids, the things that they can do to put layers of protection in place. So it's like constantly watching kids when they're around water. People think that drowning is a loud thing, like you're going to hear somebody screaming for help or waving their arms, and that's not really how it is. Drowning is usually fast and silent. So we teach adults to watch kids when they're around water, to a point we call them a water guardian, but an undistracted adult to watch kids. So for example, if I'm the adult water guardian and I've got kids in the water and I have to go to the bathroom or take a phone call, we have a wristband that you wear, and I physically transfer that duty. So I say, Steffi, I'm going to you're the water guardian now, and I transfer that duty. So you're watching, and that means that there's eyes on the kids. So if something happens, so it's about, we're trying to, so if you think about it like this, I'm almost 47. And when I was a kid, like seatbelt laws were just starting to come about, right? It wasn't a thing that we grew up learning how to do. You know, it's just like we had to learn to put the seatbelt on, right? My daughter, who has just got her permit and is about to get her driver's license, it's a thing. Like she doesn't even, I didn't ever have to even say, put your seatbelt on, because she grew up with that. So we are trying to do the same thing for water safety, which is raise an entire culture of children now from the bottom up, really from the ground up, to be having safer behaviors around water, wearing life jackets, you know, making sure that they don't go to a pool without an adult with them. So it's really a cultural shift. So that's what we're trying to do as an organization, is how many people can we talk to on both sides? You can't just educate parents if you're not educating the kids. So anyway, that's a whole nother podcast, because I will never stop talking.
And you mentioned like you use the platform from sports and triathlon to also talk about this, because you were sharing with me also from one of your experiences in Worlds that you had like an experience of like almost drowning, right? So
yeah. You want me to talk? Okay, so yes, so I use my commitment to my organization and my cause, so my commitment to Colin Soap and drowning prevention in my racing as a platform to talk to people about it. And it's very applicable to our sport, because in the triathlon, you know, it goes swim, bike, run, right? A lot of people are not super stoked about the swim. Like they want to get in the water and get out as fast as humanly possible and get on the bike and get on the land, right? Most people come to triathlon not having had a lot of experience swimming in open water, or any, not having had experience wearing a wetsuit at all. You know, there's some people, so I asked the question at our race that we just did on Saturday, if you remember, I don't know if you were listening, but I said, whose first Xterra is it? And so many people raised their hand, right? Yeah, you too. And then they asked like, who's first time in a wetsuit? And you know, a lot of people raised their hand. And so I like to talk to anyone because no one is drown proof. And I say that at the races that I'm allowed to speak at. And that came true for me at Worlds a couple of years ago. And Worlds Xterra Worlds is in Maui, one of my absolute favorite magical places on the planet. It's beautiful. And that swim is what they call an M swim. So you start on the shore and you swim out to a buoy. So you have to go through the waves, you know, fight the waves, get through the waves. You swim out to a buoy, you come back in. So you surf the waves back in. You get out on the shore, you run on the shore, then you get back in the water and you fight the waves again, and you go out to another buoy and you come back. Well, when we started the first part of the M, the surf was it was manageable. It's like 4 feet high, which I'm a solid, strong swimmer, and I actually love to swim in the ocean. So that was fine. And then when I got out and got to the other part of the M, so we got back in, the surf was huge. I mean, huge. Like I had one of my lifeguard friends who trains lifeguards look at the photographs after to see how high the surf was. And it was like 15-foot waves, which is huge. And what happened to me was I should have done what I tell other people to do. I should have waited before I went in for the set of waves to clear, because when I was, you know, got out and ran and was ready to get back in, I had so much adrenaline. I didn't wait. And I went in, and what I ended up in was the middle of a set of huge waves. So I got hit by one, and they were not rolling waves. So sometimes you have waves that roll. These were like crashers. So they would crest and then just smash down. And I got stuck right under where they were crashing. And you know, typically you get down on the bottom of the ocean floor and you get down really, really as far down as you can. I couldn't even get below the tumble, like, so I got tumbled by one wave and I couldn't figure out which way was up. And I came up, and when I came up, I looked up and immediately there was another wave crashing, like same height, like just crashing straight down. So I tried to get down again, really, really low, couldn't get low enough. And the same thing happened. So I got tumbled and didn't know which way is up. And I thought, so that was the second wave. And I thought, oh my gosh, like I had this thought literally when I was on the bottom, like the drowning prevention lady is about to drown. Like, this is not good for business. This is bad. And then I relaxed, or then I came up. So I was thinking that, and then I came up to the surface, and there was a third wave, and the same thing happened. And I got hit by the third one. And when I get hit by the third one, I really did think it was over. But I relaxed. And I think I relaxed and I was able to come up. I don't even remember how, honestly, but when I came up, there was a break in the waves. So I just started swimming. I had so much adrenaline from that I just started swimming. I got through the swim. People were that year, I mean, getting out, people were, when you were getting out and fighting the waves, people were getting thrown into it was really a scary situation. And I survived that and finished the race. And about 2 weeks later, I had what I really think was like a PTSD, panic anxiety attack, when I heard some surf crashing. And it was super scary. And it was a big wake-up call for me and I want to share this story because I think that's something that us as athletes and competitive athletes, we often think we're invincible. We're solid swimmers. We're even if it's your strongest, that is a portion of the triathlon, which I'm usually never worried about that. And I am like, I know I can put in a solid swim. My bike might suck, my run might suck, but I'm usually a really solid swimmer. So I like to share the story because people need to know. I think none of us are drown proof. And I say that when I do my speeches at the beginning of the races here in Texas, like, none of us are drown proof, and don't think that you are. So yeah, it was a very scary situation. I went back the next year. I managed to qualify the next year and had this awesome guy named Bruce sort of sponsor me to go back, and I needed to make peace with the ocean, and I needed to get through that. Huh?
With Maui specifically.
Yeah, well, and that's one of my favorite places. I mean, I'm all covered up now, but I've got like multiple tattoos that are, I got this one in Maui, and I have a Maui fish hook on the back of my neck. Yeah. Yeah, I have so it was a lesson to me and a wake up call that and I need to share the story too.
Yeah, and I mean, also I love your braveness or your courage that you were like, I have to go back.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also a mindset that not a lot of people have, or have the ability to grasp on. I have to fight this fear. Oh,
and they do this awesome thing, and I hope that you get to see this when you go to Maui to Worlds, but they do this blessing ceremony the day before, where Clifford, who's a Maui elder, comes out and he does this thing at sunrise. It's incredible. And he does this chant that is called E Ala E, and it's a Hawaiian chant. I mean, it's awaken, arise. And I went because I was like, I need to be blessed. Like, I need to make peace with he has you go into the ocean and make peace with something. And for me, I was making peace with that actual beach and that whole space. And I had such an emotional, it was the day before the race, and I was sobbing. I was so emotional because I was scared. I was really scared, but I was like, I love the ocean and I love swimming, and I don't want to be afraid. I don't want that to be my story. And that was one of the scariest, standing at the start of that race, but I knew that I had to do it. I had to get back in there.
That swim coming back, was it good?
It was awesome. It was awesome. And it was awesome. And it was funny because once I got through the swim, I was like, I don't care about I cared about the rest of the race, but I was so worked up about that. And it was so freeing. And I still have an incredible respect, and I didn't not have a respect for the ocean, but I had a respect for an even greater respect, and then an even bigger reality that I'm not drown proof. I can talk about drowning prevention all day long, and I just came from the state capitol today testifying in some legislation we have, and it doesn't matter. I'm still not drown proof when I get in that water.
Yeah. And you know, a little bit more about your sports and in general. I know you started off like since very early on, like with sports, but you always did team sports, right?
Yep.
Like, and then eventually you found your way into individual sports. And maybe you could share a little bit more on why Xterra, or why triathlon off road, like
Sure.
why do you have this, like how did you fall in love with it? Because I feel you're also very passionate about it.
Oh, completely. It is home. I mean, we talk about the Xterra specifically as like the tribe and the people for one. But yeah, I played team sports growing up. I played soccer starting from the age of 4. I played basketball. I played soccer in college. I dove, like I was a diver. So I did one, that was my only individual sport. I played all team sports. And then after college, um, somehow I started doing charity road rides, like for different charities on the road bike. And so then I did a road triathlon, but then I started, when I moved to Austin, I started mountain biking and mountain bike racing. And I found, oh my gosh, I love to be in nature. I would much rather crash into a boulder than a car. So I started, spending way more time on the mountain bike. And a friend of mine who owns Bicycle Sport Shop, which is just went out of business after, but my friend Hill Abel, who owns Bicycle Sport Shop, was a big supporter of all the charitable things that I did. And he knew I did triathlon and he knew I mountain bike race. He's like, well, you should do an Xterra. I'm like, what is that? I want to do an Xterra. I don't even know what that is. And he said, it's off-road triathlon. And so I did one and I immediately fell in love with it. I fell in love with the people. I felt it's the culture. It is a culture. The mantra is like live more. And I fell in love with the people. I fell in love with just being off-road, clearly open water swim, mountain bike, trail run. And I found this posse of people. And we haven't even talked about this, but one of my, who became one of my very, very, very closest friends, and we traveled to so many races together, my friend Mike, because his wife was a midwife. And so she was birthing babies, and I was usually traveling to races by myself. And Mike and I traveled to races for like 7 years, and he passed away in 2019. So my entire race season last year was supposed to be dedicated to him. So I have all these Mike Grote 54 stickers on all my stuff. And then last year, we didn't get to race because of COVID. So this year, my entire season is really dedicated to him and his memory. But it's really the tribe of people that are part of this off-road community. It's, to me, it's if someone's on the side of the trail and they need something, or if they're hurt, like Xterra racers will stop. Xterra racers will ask if you're okay. I have given away, I did in the Utah race, which is the Pan American Championships. The first time I ever did that, and that's a really hard race, I gave away both my CO2 cartridges, my tube. At the time, I didn't have tubeless, so I gave away my tube. And that's just, to me, the spirit of the people that I've found in this off-road triathlon is it's home. It felt like home the first time I did it. And I know for me, this last year when we haven't been racing has been so hard to not be around those people. I was so happy on Saturday to just be around the tribe and be around the people.
Yeah, and I mean, I've listened to you say or mention that you planned your race seasons.
Yep.
So of course, with like 2020, we weren't allowed to race,
Yep.
and maybe that. Do you feel like in a way it got some motivation out of you, or do you see like why am I training an issue, like, or do you say, okay, now that this is why I'm rearranging my goals, or how would you
So
describe it?
you mean for my because I'm now training for a long-term goal. I used to
Yeah.
train in terms of, okay, the Xterra season starts in Texas in March, and then we race. And then if you qualify for Worlds, that's usually in the fall, like it's now in December, but it's usually like around Halloween. So it's the whole goals of Xterra for me in the past have been race the season, do well in the season, try to qualify for worlds, do a couple of other races outside the region, like in Colorado or Utah. But really, it was like a cyclical, a year-long goal kind of a thing. And now I am trying to have a longer train for something that's further out. So like a 2-year goal, not just train for this particular year. And it's definitely a shift for me because I like that instant gratification. Like when I was handed the world qualifier spot on Saturday, I questioned myself because I'm like, oh, but I wasn't going to go to worlds this year. I wasn't going to train. Like I was going to try to do it next year, but now I have this piece of paper in my hand, and I'm not going to go. I'm going to hold to that goal. I have a work thing that conflicts anyway because they move the date, which is unfortunate. But I also think that I really want to be committed to trying to train for this longer goal and see if I can do that. It's a challenge for me because I do like the instant gratification or the like whatever.
And when you say a long-term goal, what do you mean?
So I mean, instead of training for it's now almost May, instead of training for a goal that's in this calendar year, like I'm going to get on a better training plan, meaning build my fitness base, build my, start doing some things. I've never really trained seriously. I've always trained in what I call the cracks, which is, and part of that is because I work full time and I'm also a parent, a single parent. And so I have a lot of, competing things in my world where I didn't feel like I could make a priority bigger than an hour a day, or on a weekend, maybe 2 or 3 hours a day. And now I want to change some things. I want to see, okay, maybe if I train with more focus and a little bit more time and do some things differently, than set a goal of, maybe this year I'm training to get some better habits around my training and to get some different races under my belt. And then next year I can keep that going and build to be in a better spot to maybe actually get closer to a podium at Worlds. Or
Wow.
I really would like to. I've never cracked the top. I've always been 11th or 12th in my age group at Worlds. I would love to. I mean, I think it's a dream. I was thinking about this weekend too. It's I think it's a dream to crack the top 10, to maybe crack the top 5. I don't know. And I honestly have no idea what I'm even capable of, because I've been in this train at this certain thing, and I'm racing against some people that are training the same way, but a lot of people that are training a hell of a lot more.
And for example, now that you're talking about all of this and all these goals, do you feel like being so active in sports gives you some balance in other areas of your life, or it complements, or do you think it's how does it, because there's so many things that you're doing, right?
Right.
And that's the excuse for many people, oh no, I don't do sports because I don't have time. But in your case, maybe you even benefit from it.
Totally benefit. Completely. It is a balancer. It's a stress. For sure, it's a the work that I do in my job is very emotional because I work with a lot of families who are grieving, and it's heavy work. And, life is heavy, especially in this last year. And I use my training and my sport as a way to balance my stress, as a way to, I love to do my workouts first thing in the morning. It sets my course of my day for sure. I have a lot of energy and I feel like it helps me channel it a little bit more. So I absolutely think that, and I will, I don't want to say argue, but I will have a conversation with anyone who tells me that they don't have enough time in their day to exercise, because I can work a plan for you. I don't care if you have what it is, I will solve that, because I think that the value of exercise and sport and all the lessons that you learn, I mean, patience and competition, and also kindness and compassion and courage and all the things. I mean, there's so many life lessons to sport, and I will fit it in. To me, it's like air or water or food. It is a food group for me.
Uh-huh. And well, may I ask, I don't know if your daughter's also into sports?
It's funny. I have struggled with this as a parent. So she played basketball for a while, and she broke her ankle and had to have metal put in her ankle. And that kind of ended her basketball career, we're very different. And she will say that to me. She'll say, Mom, I am not you. I do not wake up in the morning and think about if I'm going to go run or if I'm going to bike. She likes to go to the gym. She likes to do different things than I do. We scuba dive together. We just got certified to scuba dive. So we have some shared things, and she likes to snowboard and do some other things, but she's not she played soccer when she was really little, but she's definitely not motivated in the same ways that I am. And that was hard for me as a parent for years. And then I finally surrendered. I was like, she's got to be her own person. Like she's very much her own person. And I finally just said, you know what, I don't, and I think I imagine that if she was honest with me and I said, does my sport put pressure on you because I am competitive? I'm sure that it does. And she's a different person. So I struggled though. I tried to get her to mountain bike, and she's a great mountain biker, but she just it wasn't her thing. She did swim team for a year, and she just didn't get into it. She will get in the open water with me, and she can swim my last 2 miles of my 79-mile swim that I did last year. She swam the last 2 miles with me, and she had been in the lake swimming from point A to point B in 2 years, and she just got in and knocked it out. So she's a stellar athlete, but I think we're motivated by very different things. And I respect that, and I respect her as a person. You know, she may find something later in life that she is super passionate about in that space, but we're very, very different.
Yeah, and I think at the end, that's the most important thing, like doing whatever you're passionate about.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
I mean, and I mean, also, like, I love that you shared this, like, okay, it might be frustrating for me because I want her to share my passion, but of course I need to respect that she has her own passions, and that's perfectly fine.
Yep. Oh, and it was very real. I mean, I really struggled with it. I mean, and we have in our community, we have a middle school and high school mountain biking team, and there's like 250 kids on that team. And I kept getting asked to help coach the team, or at least go out and help at practices. And I couldn't do it because I was like, I don't have a kid on the team. Like if my kid was on the team, I could justify, you know, in the big scheme of my schedule and whatever, and because I wanted to do it, but and she just wasn't interested. And I finally came to peace with it, and I had that conversation with her. That was just like, I totally respect that we are not the same person, and I don't want to put pressure on you to be something that you're not, or be something, and you will find it, and I will support you in whatever that is. We like to go to spin classes at the gym together. That is one thing that she does love to do. She likes to go spin class.
But she is active, so check there.
Yeah, totally.
Alissa, well, to close up, what would you like for people to take away from our talk today?
Oh, I would like to. Oh, that's so hard. That I know, and you told me that you were going to ask me that. I would like people to take away that find your passion and live it. And if there's a way to marry it with, like for me, I have my Team Do Awesome, which is my women's charity race team, and we are a group of 9 women who love to do mountain biking, and some of them are Nordic skiers and trail running, and I do Xterras, but we all come together because we love to put our sport and our love for giving back in the community and spreading love and kindness. We'd like to put all those together. So I would challenge people to just find what you love and do it. Stay committed to it for sure, and do your passion, and be okay doing that, whatever that is. And it may be triathlon, it may not be, and but really believe in that, and then find a tribe of people to support you in it, people that help hold you accountable. I know that is something that I do a lot of my training by myself, but I do have some very close people in my world that help me stay committed and accountable, and it makes it more fun. So find your tribe, find your passion, and go do it. And
I love it. Well, Lisa, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And well, we hope that everyone enjoys our talk.
Yeah, and congratulations on your big win at the Xterra ATX. That was awesome seeing you up there on that podium. Congrats. And thank you for having me. I love the conversation.
Thank you.